they're all human problems, and we can confuse them to be something more because the stakes are often higher.
Mhm.
Because when you own a business that scales into many people below you, your problems are magnified by the responsibility that you feel for all these people.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and I'm excited to have Daniel Hind. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, Todd. It's good to be here with you.
Yeah, well, appreciate you joining me. And a little bit about Daniel. He's an executive coach who helps high level founders and investors rebuild their lives through what he calls his radical reinvention methodology. And that's a framework that blends philosophy, performance coaching, and real world entrepreneurial experience all together. So, Daniel, with that said, give our listeners a bit more about, kind of your mission and what you're really trying to do here.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd say my work now in 2026 has boiled down to two different focuses. The first has been my career-long focus of helping founders, helping entrepreneurs, executives get in the best shape of their lives, physically, mentally, and professionally. Um, a lot of a lot of hard-charging executives are the type that sacrifice their health or other parts of their lives to achieve success in their business. And I would say there's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes them exceptional. And there's a cost to being that way, right? Especially if
Yeah.
you live that way indefinitely with without ever maturing as a leader. And so I view my role as helping that person develop into the leader that they truly aspire to be, not just the person who's going to outwork everybody and outsweat everybody and, potentially uh, cause irreparable damage as a result to themselves and
Yeah.
sometimes to others, right? Because there's a thing that happens
Usually to
when
others.
usually to others, and there's a thing that happens where, you know, y you it's the trope of like what got you here won't get you there. But because these people have developed these winning strategies that have gotten them to a certain level of success, they really overemphasize those strategies, those ways of being that are often unconscious and invisible to them. They're not really aware of how they're being, but it's so
Mm.
ingrained in them that it becomes a part of their identity. It is their personality. So it's really hard to change that, even though it's those very things that we're going to have to take a look at because we can't be that way forever. And you as a leader need to allow other people to have to develop and to grow in your organization. So my work is focused on helping founders and leaders of organizations develop themselves uh, into into the sort of person that they've always aspired to be. And in doing that, we often will start to change the culture as a result. The culture will usually change when the leader uh, starts to take a look at reinventing themselves. So that's one track of my career, and the other track, which is a new track, is helping corporate professionals become professional coaches. And I'm developing a new brand for that called the apprenticeship. This is still early days, but I've been doing this. I mean, my whole career has been executive coaching, and there are so many coaches online now, and that I think that's a good thing. But there's also anybody with like a ring light and an Instagram account can call themselves a coach, and so at the same time, it's one of those professions where it can mean just about anything,
Yeah.
and um, and so I aspire to help people do this the right way because this work
Mm.
is, in my opinion, a game changer for those who actually buy into it and who can find the right the right coach for them. And there's like I think like 70% of Fortune 500 companies have executive coaches, for example. So, and at the time that we're in, this is the first time in any of our lives where we really, because of the rate of technology, we we just don't know what 3, 5 years from now is going to look like, right? We're in a period of rapid change and turnover. And so for corporate professionals, I can imagine, not that I'm one of them, but I can imagine that there's a lot of anxiety around, am I going to have a place here? What is my job going to look like? How does, what is the how is all these changing landscapes going to affect me? And I think
For
that
sure.
coaching is a is an all-weather, all seasons career. I think that it can withstand any sort of AI domination, any sort of technological uh, changeover that we're going to experience, because at the end of the day, people are still going to want people to help them.
Yeah,
And
for sure. Probably more than ever, actually, as things
right,
change more rapidly,
exactly.
things become more chaotic and confusing. And so I think that's probably true more than ever actually now. So
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. So that's my new that's my new focus is building this brand over this year 2026, and I'm excited to do it.
yeah, I think that's really cool. So I actually did an episode, solo episode not that long ago about mentorship, and it's so powerful. Coaching mentorship is so powerful, but it's a confusing space for a lot of entrepreneurs because you're going, well, who am I gonna hire? Like, do I really want to hire this guy or this gal? Like, how do I know they're actually real?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of experience do they have? All that kind of stuff, and it's like, and that's super valuable. And the other thing I think is really important is finding somebody that aligns with you. So like I'm thinking about it in the real estate space, and I see some of these real estate guys that are out there coaching, and some people I'm like, yeah, I could actually work with that person. Like they kind of jive the same way I do. But then it's the other guy who's like flashing Lamborghinis and his beach house and that type of stuff. And not that there's anything wrong with it, because by the way, that speaks to some people, but it doesn't
Yep.
speak to me. I'm like, gross, right? So I can't work with that person. Where somebody else, that's what's going to get them going. That's what's going to get them excited about being a part of or getting into the businesses, because there's potential to buy a Lamborghini and a beach house, right? So I think you got to really focus on finding the right people for you, but I think you're right. It's like it's such an important and valuable industry to be in. So for you to have this, what do you call it, apprentice program,
The apprenticeship, yeah, the
apprenticeship
apprenticeship.
program.
Yeah.
So it's so valuable right now. Most people that come to you, uh, they're like, "Hey, Daniel, like, I want to work with you because what have they got going on in their business? These are successful people." And it's funny because a lot of people think, well, when it becomes successful, like, why would I
Get
need a
help.
coach?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I figured it out, haven't I?
I
Yeah,
figured it
yeah.
out. And it's I'm sure you work with people that have a big net worth, a lot bigger than your net worth, and so it's like, well, but why are they coming to you?
Yeah.
Why do you see people that are like, hey, I've been successful in business, but something like, what's missing? What are they looking for?
Yeah, it's a great question. First and foremost, I'd say the main reason up until this point in my career, the main reason that somebody has come to me is because they are, let's call it for the sake of simplicity, burnt out in a way that is affecting damn near every aspect of their life, right? And so it's not just like burnt out, I'm tired. It's not just burnt out, I don't feel the same way. It's burnt out like the motivation, the inspiration, my sense of self in this business, I don't feel the same way anymore. And I don't know who I am as a result because my whole identity has been wrapped up as the CEO or as the founder, as the whomever of this company. And so as a result of that, there's all this drag in all these other areas of their life that they often won't want to take a look at, but they're aware of. For example, how is their relationship with their husband or wife? How is their relationship with their kids? How is their relationship with the rest of their leadership team, their partners, right? Things are not, even though on paper things look great, nothing feels great anymore. In fact,
Yeah.
it feels the opposite. And the scary thing is I don't know who I am anymore.
Mm.
There's this identity shift of like, whoa, I'm like stuck in the past. Like there's a part of me that wishes that things could still be how they were there, and who I was to everybody and the way that I was showing up. And there's something stuck. And my role is to help this person get unstuck and to find a new sense of joy, to find a new purpose in this new version of life. Often we haven't imprinted, we haven't updated with the rest. And
Mm.
again, we get very stuck in the romantic old days of when we were, you know, making things happen
Yeah.
largely by ourselves or with a small team. And, it was work to the bone. It was stay up all night. It was um, that sort of culture and that sort of inner design that, again, there's a shelf life to that, right? You can't be that way forever. So it's usually to put it simply, they're not feeling themselves anymore. And it starts to affect their sense of identity and therefore where does this go in the future? I can't really imagine living this way for that much longer. So we need to do something about it, right? And a lot of my work is about looking at these unconscious factors that shape our behavior, our thinking, and then how we show up to others, which therefore affects the culture, right? So it's all these invisible forces that affect both how our experience of life and how we shape everything on the outside. And so it's having people get back into their bodies, number one, right? If you're physically exhausted, just your experience of life is inherently worse,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So, and that has nothing to do with your intelligence. That has nothing to do with your willpower. That is just a fact of us being biological creatures in these meat suits, right? So it's like there's only so long that you can ignore that. So usually we'll go in stages. We'll like rehabilitate the body. We'll
So
re
you're helping them get, is that what you see a lot, like the successful entrepreneur, they're maybe a bit overweight, they haven't been working out, they haven't been eating healthy, that type of thing, and then you're trying to get them on
Yeah.
that back on that path.
So usually, right? Like
Yeah.
there's not one type, but I would
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah, certainly.
the person who comes to me, right? And the cool thing about my career is that I don't need to work with tons and tons of people. I only need a handful, two handfuls of clients to have a very successful practice. And so the people who most drive with me uh is the person who I've described and who that's really bleeding out. Like the obvious thing is that it's bleeding out in their physical body. So we always start with the physical. And with the physical comes the way that you design your life,
Hmm.
right? So these just your routines, your habits, the way that you organize yourself, the way that you have assistants or whomever help make things happen for you. We take a look at how everything runs, and then
Hmm.
we create a new system for you so that you can give yourself external conditions for the internal shifts to start to occur as well, right? And for these people, they're very regimented, they're stuck in their ways. And so literally breaking these patterns can help the internal process begin by breaking the external patterns. That's a first step. The second step is really
Is this
looking
what you
at
call the radical reinvention methodology then?
yes,
As we're
yes,
breaking into, okay, sorry for
yeah.
interrupting. Go
No, you're
ahead.
good.
The second step.
So the second step is looking at these winning strategies, these ways of being that the skills, instincts, different strategies, these mechanisms that have gotten you to where you are.
Yeah.
And like, so basically, this is your lifelong unconscious formula for success, your winning
Yeah,
strategy.
certainly.
And maybe you designed it. It usually designs you. It usually develops somewhere in adolescence and then gets imprinted even further during formative years in your
Hmm.
early adulthood. For entrepreneurs, usually it's how they were when they started out and
Really?
made it to a certain, yeah, this, well, at least
That's what you're
this
seeing? Yeah.
this is what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's three things that I'm looking for when we have these discussions, right? So we're doing many things at the same time. We're working on the physical, we're working on their environment and the way that they design their lives and the way that they organize and actually execute on life stuff. And then we're having deep conversations where I'm trying to understand what is their winning strategy. So I'm looking for like what are they listening for? So when your winning strategy can be broken down into three components. I listen for, which is the pattern or the opening, so as to act by, which is the behavior, in order to, which is the like the payoff. So like when situations present themselves, or when an employee comes and describes a situation that's happening, people unconsciously are listening for a certain pattern so that they can make sense of that world, right? And when they hear that pattern, whatever that thing is, they then act in a certain way. They usually act by taking responsibility for its turnaround. A lot of my clients, a lot of A-type personalities, the behavior will be to take total responsibility for the thing's turnaround. And the in order to is different for everybody. It's to secure the future and feel appreciated. It's to get tons of praise. It's to feel like the hero and save the day. It can mean a number of different things for different people. But when we find out what is that formula that they operate by, we can then we can then start to do some work. And so the way that this formula works is that it makes an assumption that there's a certain way that things should be, and when things are not that way, something is wrong with me, with the people, with them, whoever them is,
Yeah.
or with the world,
Yeah.
right? And so it operates automatically in the background, below your awareness, all the time. And your winning strategy is basically a mechanism, conscious and unconscious mechanism, to make the world right. And so it's how you go about making the world right. And there's nothing wrong with it. I never want to make anybody feel wrong. It's actually like it's helped you not only survive, but it's helped you achieve massive success.
Right. To help get
It's
you where
just
you are.
it's just limiting
Yeah.
because your whole world becomes limited by this way of seeing things and then this way of responding to them and then getting the sort of payoff that you're ultimately looking for, even if you're not aware that you're looking for it. So it really limits what's possible and it totally shapes your behavior and over time your personality and also your leadership, because what you'll end up doing is you'll end up making people wrong who don't share your same winning strategy.
Mm.
So they have their own winning strategy. All of us have it, but you will tend to make them wrong or think that they're dumb or they don't get it or whatever
Yeah.
because they have a different mechanism.
Yeah.
And so it really shuts down collaboration. It really shuts down the ability for like true diversity, not like DEI diversity, like real
Yeah, yeah.
diversity of
Like
thought thinking.
diversity of thought, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
ideas that come together. Yeah, it's
yeah,
that's super interesting because I see that dynamic a lot play out in people that I interact with and talk to. Like everybody thinks they've got the answer.
yeah.
But it's so funny to see like 10 different people can have the answer, but they're all different answers, right? So if you're just focused on that one, thinking that everybody else is an idiot, like
Yeah, well, that's when it starts to go real haywire, right? When you start to feel that very thing, like, oh, these people are stupid. I know better. I've got it all figured out. Because then, when the company gets so large that you can't be the one to have figured everything out, right? Like you just become such a massive bottleneck, and also you inhibit you inhibit the energy flow of the whole system,
yeah.
and people feel that around you and people won't take kindly to that because they're not your coach and they're not aware of these unconscious mechanisms that are going right, and nor should they be, of course, right? Um, so yeah, I that's my fascination. And I love to see how that sort of all that bleeds out into the culture and how changing the inner culture of the leader uh, can then both uh, indirectly and then directly change the culture. Like we'll usually take what we're finding here and start to edit the culture that has developed by default, right? So a lot of cultures just happen by default. We bring people on. We're not thinking about how are we trying to design an intentional culture here. It's just we got a lot of work to do. We need new people.
Yeah.
These people have been here for a while, and the culture is whatever it shaped itself out to be
Yeah.
just by the way of things. And of course, the leadership team, their personalities will often bleed into the culture as well. But usually these things are by default. All
Yeah.
these
They're
things
not
are
well
just
thought
by
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the long tail of where this can go. It starts with the small. It starts with like the physical, the lifestyle, like the design of my life. We go into the unconscious processing, the unconscious programming, try to reprogram while making changes on the outside world too, right? So you start to feel better physically, you start to see results in your changed way of being, and then that will often inspire the deeper work because you'll start to see, oh, there's actually something to this. This isn't all like airy fairy hocus pocus kind of mumbo jumbo talk. It's real. I can see the results in real life, which is really important for these sort of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And then we imprint that into the business because their business is like, the most important thing in these people's lives. So we then we're always doing the inner work and then manifesting it on the outside. It can't be just one or the other. It's got to be both in tandem so that we anchor it into something real and we keep the momentum going because momentum is everything.
How do you work around that? You've got you know, a lot of these people that you're working with are highly successful. They're big time drivers, and when you start talking philosophy, it's that hocus pocus mumbo jumbo stuff that you just mentioned,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people are like, "Oh, I don't have time for this." How do you work around that? I'm sure you deal with it. From people that you work with, or are they just there? They're just ready. They just know that they need a change so bad.
Depends on the person. Uh, it depends on the person, but it's usually that stuff opens up as a result of changes happening in their real life. So, getting them to feel better, getting them to make some changes with their health, their diet, whatever it is for them, simple changes um, will usually be an unlock. And the other thing that is different, and this is the way that I work with people. I don't think that this is descriptive of all executive coaches, but it's the way that I work with my people. I'm there. I'm not for everybody. I'm there like the COO of their lives. Like I'm there every day, and we're communicating every day. And so it either we're you're either totally bought in or you totally reject it. There is
Yeah.
no middle ground,
Yeah.
which is fine. For me, that's great because that means we're either gonna be 100% successful or there's just no path of possibility here.
Yeah.
And
Makes
so
sense.
with that total buy-in, we're all bought in. And they trust that they trust, period. They trust that I'm somebody that is going to be there for them, that is reliable, who they can um who they can rely on to process their lives and then make decisions about what's best for them, right? And so that sounds so simple, but that is a profound shift for especially from the place that they've been. When they
Mhm.
come to me, they're not feeling themselves. They've lost confidence, they've lost focus, they've lost drive, they've lost something. They've lost that thing that got them here. It's no longer there. And as a result, they don't know who to trust. They don't know what's right for them, right? They don't know what is reliable, period. So in my own, the way that I work with people is partially breaking that pattern just by the sort of partnership that we develop.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people listening. If you're an entrepreneur, what just it really doesn't matter where you are really in your journey, whether you're just beginning or you've been in for a long time. But man, you're going to hit roadblocks along the way, and there's going to be times where it becomes really difficult. But this you know, seeking help, mentorship, understanding it. Whether you pay somebody, I've talked about it in the past. Like it doesn't matter if you pay somebody or not. I mean, paying people is certainly valuable at the right time if they're the right person.
Hmm.
But it's just so valuable to be able to um, have people that you surround yourself with that can really help navigate some of the difficulties. It's so lonely at the top sometimes, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're an entrepreneur, you're a grinder, you're hardworking, and it's not always easy. And you think I think when I was first becoming a business owner, I had this grand vision that business owners were like, they had it all together. Like they got it all figured out. They're
Yeah.
wealthy. They got everything's right in their life. And then you become a business owner. And you're like, well, they're just humans, right? They're just like
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
They got the same problems or different problems, but they got problems too. But it's about understanding that and then taking the steps to learn. They grow, right?
They're all human problems, is what it is.
Yeah.
They're all human problems, and we can confuse them to be something more because the stakes are often higher.
Mhm.
Because when you own a business that scales into many people below you, your problems are magnified by the responsibility that you feel for all these people. And and so I get why it feels like the stakes are so high, and at the same time, they are just people problems at the end of the day because we're all just people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. What's a mistake? Let's talk about what was it a mistake that you've made and how have you learned from it?
Um, well, the reason I can talk about this is because I myself have willed myself into being a burnt out entrepreneur many times in my life as well. So, while being an executive coach, I've also uh, always had something else going on. So, for example, when I started my career, I was also a CMO of a uh, entrepreneurial digital media company. Then I started to build my own health and wellness coaching company called Evolution Eat, and I ran that for 5 years, 6 years. And then I became COO of an online rehabilitation and body movement therapy company. That was my friend's company, who was a client of mine that I then, came on as the COO. So I've always had two tracks. I've always been a coach with my clients and an entrepreneur building things or part of a leadership team helping other people build their own things.
Sure.
And, there are times where that just becomes too much, especially because I'm also the sort of person who, for fun, runs very long distances, right? Is always working out. I wrote a novel a few years ago, and I'm writing a second one. Like I'm just always doing stuff and making stuff, and I wouldn't change that at all about myself. And sometimes it can be too much, So sometimes it's okay to just have a few focuses and not always have to be generating and creating. So I've ran into my own version of burnout many times. Last year, I actually uh, there's a big takeaway from this. And this is not like a pity me story, but this is a huge change in my life. Last year, I found out that I had three variants of Lyme disease,
Mm.
and that really changed everything for me. So first of all, the reason I found it out is because for the year preceding that, I really felt sick. I felt like I'd aged many decades.
Mm.
And for somebody like me, hard charging, very athletic, always moving and always working out and always doing something, that was obviously very tough.
Yeah.
And the process of going to resolve this has been the most arduous, stressful, uh, debilitating experience that I could never have imagined. That in fact I had spent my entire life trying to prevent,
Mm.
because I was like the healthiest. I was the healthiest guy in every room. That's kind of how I the internal conversation that I would have with myself is like, that's it. And because I need to be a battery for my clients, that is sort of that is my personality, and I've made a career around it. And that's my passion and focus. I love health and
Yeah.
wellness. I love nerding out on what is the latest and peptides and supplements and all of it. It's just been part of who I am. And so the fact that none of that really mattered, and none of it made a difference when you get Lyme disease. And apparently, I got it at three separate events. It totally took me out.
Oh,
And so part of it is just this unfortunate thing that happened, and I will end part of it. The lesson that I've drawn from it is also there is a cost to try to continuously taking on so much. And the cost is that you don't necessarily recognize these changes that are happening within yourself and what to do about it. Like I should have taken it more seriously earlier. For example, I really felt bad all of 2024, like bad in a way that I thought, oh, I'm just kind of going through my own version of burnout here.
yep.
This is
Yeah.
just, I'm charging hard, and I was managing it. But if I really had tapped in earlier, I should have known that this was something medical. Like this was a real serious issue,
Yeah.
I'm tired. So the lesson that I'm taking from it is to just be more intentional with my time and to also appreciate the people in my life more, the social relationships, because that's something that has also went to the wayside over the past decade. Just building so much and
Yep.
being so present for my clients.
Yeah.
I have a tight knit group of friends, but I could always be a better friend. I could be a better son. There's a lot to that. So this whole experience has helped me refocus my values, to put it simply. And now that I'm, knock on wood,
Good.
coming out on the other side of it, uh, that's something that I hold very dearly and continue to let shape me so that I don't just default back into these old ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a big event like that, unfortunately, and it sucks that you're going through it, but that can sometimes reshape your outlook or your thoughts or actually what you're doing. You're talking to people about it, but sometimes you aren't living exactly what you're saying. And
Yeah.
that happens to me as well. I mean, it's how it is. Um,
It's so much easier to help other people than it is to help yourself, man.
for sure.
It's a way,
For sure.
it's it's just one of those things. Yeah, it exposed the bankruptcy of that way of being, of like, oh yeah, you
Mhm.
talk a certain way, but then you're not actually taking care of yourself in exactly the same way that you would hold your clients to. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Couple last questions before we wrap up. What's a favorite book you can recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I would venture to bet that nobody has recommended this on your show before. This book has been a game changer to the way that I think and to my coaching in general. It's called The Last Word on Power by Tracy Goss. And I don't think it's even been in production for like many decades, but it is a book all about your winning strategy and defining what your own personal winning strategy is and how to overcome it. And so, a mentor of mine taught me about this book 10 years ago. I have all my clients read it. I read it every few years just to remind myself of its finer points. And I think it's just helpful for anybody to look at these unconscious mechanisms that, are shaping the way that they go about and experience life. And then, if you have any desire to do something about that, how to do that as well. So yeah, last word on power.
That's
Very
cool.
cool.
I love that. I'll have to check it out. You're right. Nobody has recommended it that I can remember.
I've never heard
Uh,
anybody ever know that it exists. So I just consider it one of these gold mines that
that's
I was
cool.
given to help me in my own journey along the way. I'm happy to share it.
And I love those books that are like that, that you can just pick up and read every couple of years. I got a
Yeah,
handful that, not a handful. I got a couple that I do that with, and I've probably read seven, eight, nine times.
yeah,
Those are good. Those are the great books because they're a blueprint, and it's nice to have the reminders, but they're easy. It's a blueprint. You're going, okay, I got to get back to that.
And when your life changes, right, as we mature, as we age, as new
Yeah.
experiences happen, the same words will mean different things, which
Yeah.
is why they're so
So
valuable. It's
powerful.
right, right. What's one of them for you, just out of curiosity?
I really like so there's how to win friends and influence people is always a really good one, and I've read that probably at least a handful of times.
Yeah,
And then Think and Grow Rich is another one I've read
yeah,
consistently, and I read that probably every 3 years at least.
cool,
So,
cool. Yeah.
okay, last question. What are your three pillars of wealth creation?
First is the physical body. You have to be physically healthy to be wealthy. And, that's something that I just said before because it obviously like nobody can argue that point.
Yeah,
But when you lose your health, like I did last year, again, this is a trope, but it's entirely true. All of your problems devolve into one problem. You only have one problem.
yeah,
And so you realize just how brittle this whole thing is. And um, and therefore, in my opinion, just how valuable and important it is to take care of the vessel. You have to because without 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 it working well, I just there is no idea of wealth. Your whole like you are so limited, and and we largely have total control over that. And I would say that even though I got these, three separate Lyme events, I would make the argument that if it wasn't for how well I treated myself and how seriously I took my health, I probably would have been taken down even worse. Like somebody else who wasn't me, who had that same thing, would have been completely out for the count.
yeah,
So it really does make a difference. The second would be what I'll call purpose, because if you're just working for money, then there's no purpose attached to it, right? Then it's kind of the same thing. It's like being really success is being very wealthy, but with your health degraded.
yeah,
You're limited. Again, you're limited. There's no, there's nothing. We need purpose to actually have meaning, right? To the story that we have with
sure.
ourselves, that we share with others. It's all about purpose, and purpose changes over time. So that's, it needs to be reinvented. It needs to be upgraded. It needs to be conditioned. So these are conversations you have with yourself, with people that you care about, with your team, with your founders, with your founding team, your leadership team, etc. Purpose,
Yeah,
and
you're never going to
then
be satisfied and happy if without purpose. I mean, you can get as rich as you want, but without
yeah,
purpose, man, it means
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the third, again, these are just extremely basic, but uh, more like principles. The third would be uh, investing, right? So not just that can mean investing in real estate. It can mean investing in companies. It can mean whatever that means to you. But for me, it means continuing to invest in your personal development, really your experience of yourself with yourself.
Yeah,
Who am I to myself?
yeah,
How am I different in this version of life? Every few years, everything changes, whether we mean to or not. Just like literally the cells in our body are totally different every 7 years, right? Like we are constantly in process.
hmm,
And so investing your uh, in yourself, in your development, in your awareness of where you're at this stage of life, I think is so incredibly important to, again, to being wealthy, because having a grounded, integrated personality, you can do the most good and be as purposeful as possible from that state, from that position. So,
yeah, love it. Daniel, what would you say to somebody who's listening to this, that's like not feeling motivated right now, um, but they want to feel motivated. They're like, I'm just not feeling it right now. I don't know why. I can't figure it out. I can't put my finger on it. But
mhm.
man, I want it back. I was so driven, or whatever it might be. What do you say? to that person?
You need to be expressing that. You need to be expressing that to yourself, either so through writing. You need to be expressing that through people you really trust.
Hmm.
You need to be externalizing this because what happens otherwise is that we lock it in. We our mind becomes an echo chamber for these disempowered thoughts. These thoughts become disempowered thoughts, and then we start to confirm why things aren't good anymore. Things are right because we're not letting it out. So we need to express and express self-expression through writing, through making stuff, through talking to people, right? Whether this is just people that you trust or you hire somebody, it ultimately I won't say it doesn't matter. It does matter, but you can start for free right now, right? By starting to let these ideas out and to start because when you do that, you can start to objectively see them in a way that is impossible when you're subjectively limited by yourself, right? So we have to get these things out there, see them for what they are, so that we can then literally look at them or converse with them from another perspective which will then have us, it'll be a difference. I don't know what that difference is, but that's different than just locking it in.
Yeah.
So self-expression through as many different avenues as possible is, yeah, bar none, the best methodology uh, for getting out, for starting to let this go and being intentional about changing it.
Awesome. Awesome. Love that. Um, Daniel, man, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us. How can our listeners get in touch with you? Learn more about what you got going on.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, this has been really fun. It's crazy how fast these things go. Um, uh, right now, the best way to get in touch with me is to go to my website, danielthomashind.com, just my full name, .com. And yeah, and then you can get in touch with me through an application or through email that way. I am going to be so I've always been like the anti-influencer. I love having conversations, but I hate feeling forced to make content. So I get all of my personal self-expression out through novel writing, which has unfortunately nothing to do with my career. So building this new brand called The Apprenticeship, I am going to start making stuff for the public more. But I don't have much to share on that front right now. So yeah, if anybody's
What
interested in
channels do
just,
you plan on being on? Do you plan on being on like Instagram or what do you plan on being on?
I plan on being on Substack because I'm a writer first, right? And
Okay.
so Substack, you can then there's crossover with X and then YouTube, long form.
Yep.
And if I can find somebody to help me clip that stuff up, then sure. I think honestly, I think that social media has made our lives significantly worse, and that's a whole other conversation.
That's a big
My
conversation. I
my stance is
tend to
that
agree with you there.
look, nothing can be black and white. So I can, of course, make an argument for how it's made things,
Yeah.
how it's made things great and
Yeah.
made totally new economies and all of that. I think just as far as like the human experience is concerned, I don't, I never think, wow, I'm so much happier that I can like scroll through life
Mm,
now. Scrolling has become the
right.
dominant theme of the 2020s, and that's a very sad state. So uh, just out of personal a personal revulsion to it, I can't make myself do that. But if I can make stuff and it can actually be helpful, and I'm willing to entertain how to how to how to break that pattern and how to do it in a different way. But I like long form. Anything that actually requires thoughtfulness,
Yeah.
I'm all for, right? I'm all for that. So that'll be coming later this year. But for now, yeah, just go to my website and you can reach out to me that way.
Cool. Again, Daniel, really appreciate you. You have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thanks, Todd. You too, man.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. Say, I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So The other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.